Welcome to the AI Accelerated Learning Hackathon! Woo! Bring it in, take a seat. Have a front row look at what we hope will be the future of education technology. Today we all have an ability to interact with what is a sacred mission. The process by which our children and ourselves learn everything that it is worth learning. We meet at a really critical point in human history. A technology plausibly greater than the abacus, plausibly greater than the calculator, has just been invented. And we are privileged to have the opportunity to decide what the future of this technology will look like. Welcome to AGI House. My name is Jeremy. I'm a big aficionado of learning, as you can see from the library here and from my company's Generative bookshelf. I'm very interested in the future of learning, so I hope you enjoy to create with you all today. Really quick intention, so we're gonna have a few talks. Please do come pitch a creative idea that you have for the future of learning that you can build here today. I'm looking forward personally to pitching a new idea, so it should be fun. At the last Accelerated Learning Hackathon, Folk launched paid products. So if you're interested in leveling up your hack, do feel free to get customers to build to a level of quality that is functional for other people. But also be ambitious. Find a creative idea that nobody's ever worked on before, and make this a statement for that idea. Should be fun. So today we have a few phenomenal speakers, but I'm going to start by just giving you guys a quick overview. So let me find this sheet. Okay. So I'm going to give a quick talk on personalized generative research. Then we'll hear from Xiao on the future of learning. Xiao's, basically built a number of high-quality learning companies. So he scaled his learning company in China to hundreds of millions of users, an incredible number, so it'd be amazing to hear from him. I talked to Justin about creating AI debate assistants, so he'll give us a quick talk. Daniel, are you here?
I am, yeah.
Okay, amazing. So Daniel will give us a history of the calculator and the future of GPT in the classroom. Should be fun. And then we'll finish it off with Marvel, which is a product that's just being used by hundreds of your students. So it should be a fun set of lightning talks. Now, after, we're basically going to give project pitches. So in my case, I have a project around visual learning via CodeGen for data set visualization. So the idea would be a product. Could be a company like akin to Julius, where you give it a data source and you basically get 30 high-quality exploratory data analysis style visualizations with captions to make it clear what's going on in that data. Often you'll learn from some data, but it's really hard to do it. It's not intuitive for a human being. Okay, is there anyone else who'd like to give a lightning talk before we kick off?
My name is
Okay, what's your name?
Alex Hunter,
Cool. Okay. What's your idea?
and it's designing an app that helps parents get their kids ready for kindergarten.
So if you have more ideas, let us know. We threw a ton of ideas into this AI cross-learning idea set. So here are 17 ideas, all of which I think have a ton of potential for transforming education. So should be fun.
Jeremy, quick question. What's the, for the new people that are not used to all the lingo, what's the purpose of a lightning talk here?
To pitch your idea to folk who are here.
All
So
right.
that if you want to collaborate with any of them on a project today,
Yep.
they'll know what you're working on and you can come up to you and say, oh, let's do this together and let's launch it tonight.
I'm happy to try something.
Okay.
On my face. You want to finish that person?
Margaret, she's doing it herself, actually.
Oh, is it?
So, yeah, the spreadsheet's live. So.
Cool. COERT.
Yeah.
RT, yeah, thank you. And then friction-free data exchange for AI. That's getting out of,
Okay. Okay, and with that, so the first few talks will basically be about existing products, and will be like max 4 or 5 minutes, and then we'll go to lightning talks, which will be a bit shorter. So. Should be fun.
Request, can we switch Miguel with me? Because I have not a product, but an idea.
Oh, sure. Sure. Okay, so I'm going to jump into personalized generative research. So the central idea is that research is the source of new knowledge, and if you would like to learn, framing your learning as research can be very helpful. So I am the founder and CEO of a company called Omniscience, and we produce books and papers. So this is a set of books that have been produced by our company. They come from prompts, so you can, using our tool, basically describe a book that you'd like to read, and it'll be sent to you within the hour. And I use this as a learning tool all the time. Most of the books that I create are for the purpose of, enhancing my thought or my learning in some way. And so the thing I want to show to you guys, which you'll be able to use for free, is basically the research paper generator. So what is the research generator? It's a very similar setup. You describe a paper and it's sent to you. And these papers can be used for all sorts of reasons. So for example, I was interested in cultivating virtue. And so I threw a bunch of experiment ideas that I had into the paper generator, and it gave me a sort of comprehensive theoretical framework for the history of sort of virtue and ethics for the key philosophers and theories. I can't get this kind of response quality from ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT, it'll give me some sort of generic stuff. But basically, if you want to, you can, one, frame the results of your project as a research paper. So say I take an idea from the spreadsheet, like designing an app for parents getting ready for kindergarten. I can throw it in the research generator, and I'll get a research paper, which is, say, like a full citation set for all of the apps that have done this kind of thing and for what kind of features it might have. And it'll basically creatively elaborate on, every idea here. So I'll send a link out, but basically, research paper generation. Now, this last few weeks, I've been learning a lot about law. So this paper is an argument about the unconstitutionality of a California Senate Bill 1047 on the basis of free speech grounds. And this paper was generated via Omniscience. And when I posted it, it went viral on Twitter, and a number of JDs responded to it in a Lawfare Media blog. But this is an example of a legal argument which is grounded in real case studies, which is made by this artificial intelligence algorithm, in practice defending itself from onerous regulation. And so my learning process was enhanced because I didn't know about the cases that were being cited by it. Points to Bernstein versus United States, this situation where a cryptographer was disallowed from basically sending their code elsewhere. And it came up with a bunch of ideas, like publishing a model as a book to make it clear that the model is speech in important ways. So if you're interested in augmenting your learning in a deep way, feel free to use the research generator, and if you have creative ideas about how to improve it, we're always very curious. Here's the future of generative learning.
Wow.
Okay, and I'll give you Xiao. We'll speak on the future of learning.
Hi, good morning. I'm Xiao. As a co-host, welcome you to AGI House, which is where the future happens. And I have a background in electrical engineering and computer science, which I guess most of you do. I studied at Cambridge and MIT. And I started working with children in 2007, when there was no such industry. Because back at the time, I thought that this is the biggest impact application of any technology. And I still believe that today. So my first startup, I built the first app on the iOS App Store for education. It was a partnership with Cambridge and Apple. My second startup, as Jeremy was saying, I scaled it to over 100 million users. We took it public on NASDAQ. At its height, it was valued at over 5 billion. And I'm very excited now to work on my third startup, at HF0, which is a house about 10 minutes drive from here. Obviously learning has been around for tens of thousands of years, and a lot of learning I don't think will change so much. There's tens of thousands of years of technologies of talking to each other. I think someone is going to say technologies such as books and calculators, that's been around for something like 1,000 years. Oh, books have been around for 1,000 years. Calculators maybe 100 years. But nothing has been possible to replicate a human-to-human learning experience. And I think that is actually the majority of the learning experience. So we focus on things like lectures and courses when we talk about learning. But I actually think that, at least for me, most of the people I talk to, they learn most from talking with other people. So what we are building now is an AI friend for children. We're starting with the most ancient technology, which is storytelling. The AI will be able to tell stories to children, and children talk to the characters, interact with the characters in the stories. Over time, they'll be able to interact not just through conversations, but also playing together. At the moment, it's mostly through conversations. And we are playtesting with pre-launch. We had a bunch of kids coming over to HF0 last night, and we had an amazing time. So we are hiring. If anyone is interested in working with children, we're focusing on this age group 5 to 10 at the moment. We would love to have a conversation with you. And also, I really look forward to hacking with you today. I saw the ideas that many of you had, and I think it's amazing. Personally, I think even though this whole education paradigm shifts more slowly than how technology accelerates, this shift is going to happen much faster now. So I think the theme of today's hackathon, AI accelerated learning, is very fitting. If you are still kind of debating whether this is a field you should work in, I know many engineers think that learning is not perhaps moving as fast as some of the other applications. My suggestion would be, that this is definitely the field to work in from today onwards. So very much look forward to knowing all of you. If you are interested in AI friends for children, we call IMEA, come to chat with me. Thank you.
Very nice. Daniel.
There's some issues. Is it okay if you don't use the mic?
That's fine with me. Yeah, I will project clearly. Is it possible to plug in? Yeah. Hi everyone, my name's Daniel. I worked in ed tech at a company called ABC Mouse for like 10 years. I don't do that anymore. Recently I've been thinking a lot about ChatGPT and education. And it occurred to me that ChatGPT is going to have a really big influence on the way education is taught in classrooms. I wanted to take a look at another thing that had a big influence on classrooms, which was the calculator, and see if there were any lessons that we could draw from that might be relevant to today. So in this very, very brief lightning talk, I'm going to give a very short review of that and just some thoughts that might be relevant for what you're building today or what you're thinking about as you think about like what's next for education and what's going to happen in classrooms. This is an old calculator that you're looking at a picture of. By 1975, roughly-ish 1 in 9 homes in the United States had a calculator. At around this time when math was taught in schools, it was very heavily focused on arithmetic. And there's this group of people that did this study a couple of years ago. They bought 100 years of textbooks, and they took each page in each textbook, and they said, what's being taught on this page of this textbook? So that they could see how has math education changed over time. So I'm going to show you one chart from that paper. That's this. Here we have the percent of pages in textbooks that teach mental math. And on the x-axis, you can see time. And the thing you'll notice is right here, right when the calculator is starting to take off, there's this huge increase in the number of pages that are being taught for mental math. because teachers and students in classrooms are starting to realize the way we were doing this is not working anymore. We've got to change our curriculum to sort of match the new technology. There was another report written in 1975 by an organization called NACOM, which is some sort of national math educator group, about what they thought would happen with math education. Decimals will be taught sooner because they're on the calculator and very visible. Square roots will be taught sooner because they are available, so even elementary school students will be naturally curious. It's right there, it's right in front of them, their minds will just start asking about it. Students who are bad at arithmetic won't be stuck in the curriculum. Previously, if you couldn't do arithmetic, you just had to do more and more arithmetic. Now, if for whatever reason you couldn't do it, you just progress in the curriculum onwards. Students need to be taught about the technology. How does a calculator work? And finally, current assessments aren't good anymore. Like the assessments at the time were like, how do you add numbers? But as calculators become a thing, that sort of assessment is not a great way to assess kids. And it's not as relevant as it used to be. Here's some other interesting things. According to a survey of teachers in 1975, but this may have been a survey of parents, 72% did not want calculators in classrooms. By 1988, 13 years later, Chicago gave a free calculator to each student. By 1994, 20 years later, the SAT was adjusted for calculators with something called student-produced response. So some interesting things to think about here is like, that's a 20-year cycle time between the invention and by the time a new generation of teachers grows up and like completely adapts to the technology. We might be in a different era now where things move a lot faster, but this is a 20-year cycle between the invention and when the SAT was adjusted for it. So here's a challenge I'm gonna present today based on what I was thinking about with the calculator, which is what does homework look like, what does a curriculum look like, and what does assessment look like when GPT is readily available? Now that students have this new tool in their classrooms, how do you adjust the homework? How do you adjust the curriculum? How do you adjust the assessments, given that this is a tool? And I'm just going to leave you with that. Cool.
Wow.
Thanks.
Any questions?
That's really cool. Trying to figure out how to do assessments again. And
I think there's a lot of potential there.
Yeah.
And there's a research paper on science is exactly the same. You have to wait for a generational change before the new science is
Yeah. People have to get used to it.
That was Daniel Jacobs on history of the calculator. And Justin, you want to pitch your AI debating system.
Okay.
And I guess since we're transition later into pitches, let me say, so 20 people signed up is awesome. I'll quickly present all of the ideas that were put up by folk in case they're inspirational. So, how many of you saw the math tablet that Apple put out? Okay. So, basically, yeah, almost the entire written was awesome. So yeah, math has always been really hard to do on tablets in general. Apple has this really slick interface in which you can do equations, and then it will, in some cases, create the answer or be able to assist you in real time. But people are interested in making an AI math teacher, combining GPT vision with some interface that basically lets you like push to and pull from the interface in real time. Would be very powerful. In general, it seems like all things that you do on a tablet or in some interface can be modified by GPT vision in real time, interacting with JavaScript code, say, in a browser environment. And I don't think these dynamic interfaces have really been explored much at all, which is as you're writing, as you're reading, as you're commenting, models are looking at everything that's happening and are assisting. So this is a really nice idea. The curriculum generator. So what resources should I be using to learn is always a hard question to answer, but I think it can be better answered by AI than by any existing present system. The task generator. So it seems like you should be able to, from a book or from a paper or from any really learning source, create a quiz, and the quiz can basically have correct and incorrect checks on your knowledge of the thing you were supposed to have written. Debate graph gen says, someone added this, I guess. Debate idea, and I thought, well, one variant might be the graph of all of the arguments one might make in a debate. creating the space of all arguments for and against some sort of position or proposal. So, if you've ever done debate, they'll come with some, argument. The set of all counter arguments and counter arguments can possibly be generated by a recursive LLM call. The teacher comedian, so give him a lesson plan, make it funny and engaging. I think in general these style transforms over content are a really good idea. So I think there's another example of like educational video games where the games, in order to win the game, you have to somehow learn all of the material behind some course, and then the game will be checking that you've learned it. So some style stuff. Who's heard of the Feynman technique? Does anyone know the Feynman technique? Okay, fewer people. So the idea is very powerful. Basically, so Feynman is a famous physicist, and he had a learning technique which was centered on teaching. So if you read Farnham Street, they have a really great take on it, but there's a beautiful video of him explaining the technique. But overall, the idea is, you want to teach. So pretend to teach a concept that you want to learn about, identify gaps in your explanation of teaching it, and then go back to the source material to see how to understand it more effectively. So in this case, you may have a situation where you teach an AI, whatever it is that you're trying to learn, and the gaps in your ability to teach it will become obvious to you, and the AI system can also correct the way in which you taught it. And then you reteach the idea over and over instead of learning through something that's very consumptive and just sort of perceptive as opposed to something interactive and engaging. AI flashcards, so create something like an Anki deck from a given learning resource. Spaced repetition. The idea behind, does everyone know what spaced repetition is? Raise your hand if you know what it is. Okay, cool. So I guess most people have seen it. The idea being your memory is improved if you see an idea repeated multiple times on a given schedule. Deliberate practice with AI. So the idea being you have some weak areas in your learning and it can identify those weaknesses and create problems that are adaptive to those weaknesses. The distraction monitor. So as I'm working, plausibly an AI can be watching me, and if I get distracted, so I go to Twitter or I go to some place where I shouldn't be, it can give me a nice warning saying, oh, by the way, make sure that this is aligned with what you're supposed to be learning right now. Could be more aggressive as well, so you can imagine a vision app that detects relevance of a page, given the text on that page, and then only shuts the page down if it's deemed to be irrelevant. So certainly AI tutors, which are interactive model experiences. The adaptive quiz, where you're taking a test, but the test changes depending on the questions that you get right or that you get wrong. The prompt to exam task quiz pipeline, so similar idea. I should be able to just describe something like Beethoven, and it should be able to create a quiz or a test about the life of Beethoven and the music of Beethoven in an automatic way, by sort of recursively laying out a few AI calls. And then ideally that would be hosted online and be takeable by other people. So I could send someone a quiz on anything, and we could compare our performances, and it would be graded, and a lot of these things can go viral if you quiz people on the radio. Yeah, particularly the educational video games. So I'm immersed in some world, and in order to succeed in that world, I have to learn some number of incredibly important things. And the game is aware of what I do and don't know. And so it will perhaps create quests that are about me learning some task, but that are reframed as, conquering some part of a civilization or fighting some dragon, that kind of thing. Matching. So there are plausibly a bunch of people who have similar interests and similar learning interests who could really help each other. How can we have an AI that basically integrates a little bit of information about tons of people and then matches them with each other based on their shared interest? The accountability AI. So similar idea. You want to do accountability with other people, but what if you did accountability with an AI that was grading the proof that you gave, that you had, read something, written something, like learned something, that kind of thing. And if you failed to send your AI proof, it can hold you socially accountable. It can hold you financially accountable by, messaging your friends saying what you failed to do, or by charging your bank account with some money, right? So you didn't send your proof, sorry.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then finally, the dataset visualizer. So the idea being, often you want to learn things about the real world where there's tons of data, but you can't look at that data and make anything of it. If you give that data to the visualizer, it can create basically a beautiful visual description of all of the ideas and information that's in that data set so that you can learn it really easily. And I think this could easily be a company too. So cool. Some ideas for you all. Hopefully you do it. And let's give it to Justin, AI debate assistant.
All right, I am Justin. I'm an AI researcher, but I've been thinking about this project or this idea of being, I think, a good fit for the ed tech kind of theme. So we all debate, but there's this like extracurricular activity called debate, like in high school, which is like it gets pretty competitive. I remember I did it in high school, and like the kids that were in it were very invested in it. Like they'll pay like even like tens of thousands of dollars to go to the top debate camps to like make their arguments just like marginally better. I think what would be super cool is leveraging AI to like somewhat like democratize this like debate improvement resource. In particular, debate's a great natural medium in my head because what is it? You take text and you reason over text. Or in this case, if you're debating and you're doing it like in live, you take voice and you're reasoning over voice, but voice can just be transcribed to text, voice to text. So I think like a very easy MVP could be that the user inputs either text, like let's say their pre-written speech, and the sort of, in this case, the language model would generate sort of a counter speech against it. Or for example, if we were to have it sort of do a voice to text, the person can give the speech, the AI can go ahead and give a counter speech, and they can practice giving sort of a counter speech to the counter. And so I think this would be a great way for people to practice and also like find particular weaknesses in their argument. And even more generally beyond, let's say, like the competitive extracurricular scene. Previously, many years back, I was a tutor in Korea, and they actually used debate, like live debate, as a way for them to practice English and to practice making reasoned arguments. And I think this would be a great way to kind of bootstrap that process for people who are maybe learning English as a second language to be more confident in their public speaking skills. And so that's just like a hackathon idea I've been thinking about. If you're interested, happy to build it. Thank you.
I have a question. Do you think that skill transfers to rhetoric for like like politicians and other type of? It's more rhetoric based as opposed to like logic based.
I guess. I mean, we all debate. I think he was mentioning like he wrote some kind of legal document. I guess maybe the lawyers could input their like kind of case and then find like weaknesses in the argument. I guess everything that is based on text and reasoning over text could be applicable in this part.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Teach families how to talk to each other. Arm the kids.
Are you wanting to target it towards a specific style of debate, like Lincoln Douglas or policy? Or?
I mean, I guess like it could be like that's the thing. Like sorry, I don't want to take too much time, but like if you wanted to sort of like make it into a full-on like actual debate like simulation, then there are certain like rules. Like for example, Lincoln Douglas, public forum. But I guess like as an MVP for a hackathon, even just having something that generates reasoned arguments against your speech, I think it would be good for the person to practice like, oh, these are some weaknesses, right? And even getting like the voice to text is pretty good too. So yeah.
That's very cool. Contribution to society.
Yeah.
All right. My plan for the day is to build what I'm calling a visualization analyzer. So basically, data set visualizer. So the idea is to create a comprehensive set of visualizations about a data set, making visual learning from that data easy. So why do I think this is possible? Well, this is an example of a research paper which is generated from a data source. And the visualizations in this paper, for example, like the features that happen to predict hackathon acceptance, much like this one, are features like RSVP date. And you can tell that this feature is like much more strongly predictive of whether you get in or not. So basically, whoever was deciding who should be accepted should have focused more on basically being independent of like when a person came in, or maybe the best people just happened to apply at the best time. But this model discovered this interesting pattern in that data and was predicting acceptance. The visualizer created this confusion matrix showing which kind of mistakes were made by the machine learning model. And it also created this sort of precision recall curve, basically demonstrating like, here's the classes on which, the model's very accurate, on which it's less accurate. And a lot of these are really beautiful visualizations of the machine learning process that would be pretty tricky to create outside of it. There's a company called Julius AI that is currently making incredible amounts of money with data analysis, including things like charts and graphs. And so what I want to do is something akin to this, but where we are basically going to create a chain of prompts which will create a huge number of high quality visualizations. So we'll basically describe the full process of doing exploratory data analysis to a code interpreter generator that creates probably 10 different calls. And those 10 calls will all create their own subset, will all do their own data analysis. And then we'll show all of those results to the user, and hopefully it'll be deeply insightful. Yeah, and I guess if you'd like to work with it on me, I'm very open to collaborators. So look for it. And Alex, you're up. Margarita, you're up.
Hey everyone, I'm Alex. I am working on an app called Krecicki.com. It's targeting parents and it's helping them get their kids ready for kindergarten. Oftentimes, I think with EdTech solutions, they target children from K to 12, higher ed, college, but there's not really much when you're actually trying to help parents get their kids ready before that, and that's a lot of times when parents usually have a lot of struggle. So the goal is to run the child through an assessment. We give them a score, and then we kind of see where they fail, and then provide them with tailored activities. So an example that I give is the child struggles saying the letter P. So once we know that that's what they're struggling with and they like Peppa Pig, we're gonna give them activities that say Peppa Pig likes to play in the playground at their favorite party, right? And inundate the child with that kind of information. That way in a week, 2 weeks time, they start saying P, play, right? And they start learning in that way. So right now, that's what we're building. It's called Krecicki.com. My laptop's dead right now, so I can't show you the website. And what I want to work on really is focusing on, like, we have the score and we want to put that and kind of create this smaller model, and it'll start generating questions directly. So that's kind of the part that I'm planning to focus on. Are you plugging that up for me so I can share it? Or?
Let's see it now.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, there it is, yeah. So is your child ready for kindergarten? So really just, we want to have people take the screener and it just kind of gives them prompts so they can get started. So still in the process of working on this, but if you click on the screener, it will take you to a page and we can start kind of collecting that data. So it says, show them, can they say this letter? Do they know what this is? Yes or no, right? And really run through this. And this is just a quick screener to kind of get that started, but that's what I plan on working on today. Any questions? Yeah.
I'm curious where you came up with this process, like for what you're trying to flag the children for and how you're flagging them so you can give information. Like, I'm just curious where the basis for what the questions you're asking came from.
Yeah, so, there's like we use what's called like the Head Start metrics, and it's really metrics that they're using nationwide that can check all the things that students need to know or kids need to know before they're ready for kindergarten. So literacy, numeracy, like they need to know their uppercase letters, lowercase letters, can they blend sounds, the IE, the EE, and then with math and language counting as well. And then the next thing is like social emotional interaction, can they regulate themselves? Working on all these things, but like starting with the language and numeracy.
Cool, man.
Language literacy, but yeah.
Yeah, that's your idea. So it seems like you definitely could automate this by having the kid talking to Krecicki and coming to your own conclusion based on what they do or don't say. You can even ask it to them in a nice voice, right?
Yeah.
And then the adult doesn't have to click yes or no. It advances when the system has enough information about the kid's ability to do whatever it's interested in.
Yeah, and then I think eventually we want to have it assess children from speech impediments and things like that, and kind of really get them in.
You could have a bunch of function calling for all these specific things that you want, and then it could pull them out and then downline.
Or, yep.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
But yeah.
Do you have a specific project idea?
Yeah, I think it's really, I'm trying to like take the score and then put that in some AI and like start to generate tailored questions. So really that.
Awesome question.
Yeah, the question asking.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Margarita, you are up. Coert, you're on deck.
So if you were at the last AI Accelerated Learning, my team launched, basically what we did is if you want to learn something, it would scrape all the TikTok content on whatever you wanted to learn on, and then you would watch the videos, but to move on to the next video and go through your TikTok scroll, you would have to answer a bunch of questions based on the video. So you actually learned what happened. So it was pretty good, especially if there was a lot of really good content on the subject the user wanted to learn about. But the biggest problem is that some of the TikToks that we scraped just weren't great, and so the quality output wasn't good. So what I want to focus on is generating the actual video in this kind of really in a format that works every time. So generating an educational 1-minute video on anything a user wants to learn about is what I'm working on today. So yeah, let me know if you want to work on it, anything together. I'm looking for people to work with.
Cool. We open source get vocal if you want to start that code base. Okay.
Cool. All right, thank you.
Yep. Coert.
All right.
Free data exchange.
It's
Miles roundup.
screw it, let's do it. It's, hi, newly arrived here, so I don't know if this is the right thing, but I'll just do it. Born in South Africa, in Australia, just arrived, and fucking love all of this stuff. You guys are awesome. But 12, 15 years ago, we started doing significant human behavior analysis, and we started predicting who'll get hurt next in industrial sites. Western Australia, a lot of them. We started getting very good at it, and then we realized, oh shit, this product's dead, because we start telling the boards, these people don't get hurt, you haven't done anything about it. And so we had to kill it, because we're actually going to end people in jail because we created an audit trail that they couldn't do something about. So yeah, so it's a very, very sore point for me. But then we pivoted that, and we turned it into a product that helped universities understand which students want to come back. So the Kona network, neural net, a little while ago, like we had a pretty good team working on it. And then did a whole bunch of other things. But the fundamental problem with that and other places was to get to the data at an enterprise or a school level, there's such high friction. And with all these ideas coming out, the biggest failure point beyond B2C for B2B is like, how can I de-identify a well-curated data set that is vector optimized and ready for sharing with some traceability in it? And so, I don't know if that's an idea, but the other businesses we've been trying to build, this has been the biggest bottleneck. So that's a problem space I'm deeply curious about.
Okay. And so when you say de-identify, you mean it's been anonymized and you're trying to de-anonymize it?
No, you'll be on the other side of the firewall, so you'll be on the school side, and you'd help them build, because they actually don't always know which students they've got. So like whenever we did the analysis for universities, we'd have 30,000 students in there, or 50,000 students. And then you have to optimize that to which ones are in. And so that process is pretty easy. It's pretty standard data analytics, data process building. And you'd have to have a process where you maintain that data quality in the service. That's fine. So I think that bit's easy. What's new is like, if I'm an AI service provider and I want to come work with the university, the friction we want to remove is every single AI business, especially startups, have to deal with legal. In some cases, they have to deal with HR, or they have to deal with quality control. If we can create that so that it's automatically approved through an API, which is you get RAG vector optimized data that doesn't have any identity data in it, the firewall will know, it'll de-identify it. But that friction-free process of sharing it, which you no longer need approval because category 1, 2, or 3 can optimize it. That's the challenge. You have the same problem with enterprises for learning, but in schools it's even bigger because you've got underage students in there. And so, yeah, so if you've got an idea and you want to go and pitch it, do you have time to mess around? Or if there was a very low friction way to do it, then that institution or school can run 20 experiments in the space that someone else would do one. Thank you.
Miles, learning a character to learn his perspective.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I noticed that a lot of people are thinking about learning knowledge, and this is kind of an idea that I had. I don't know if anyone's interested in kind of collaborating, but I think there's like value to learning someone's perspective, be it fictional or real, and also kind of like an acting thing. And I think the best way to do that, so some background is that a technique I use at work with one of my coworkers, we'll get into disagreements, varying from, it's usually like some mix of like emotional and strategic. And we do this technique called Freaky Friday, where we try and I am Matt, and I'm like fully like pretend to be the other person, right? And that can be hard to do, but it's really effective at empathizing. But it's kind of hard to do. It's hard to kind of give up your own perspective, and it's hard to empathize when you feel like you're right. So I want to focus on how we can get AI to help us achieve this by kind of painting us a picture. Maybe it's like emotional, maybe giving us images, kind of maybe like a life story. And there's basically two directions I see is kind of this acting direction where it's like, oh, maybe this is helping actors like get into character, and that's also a proxy for just understanding a perspective. This character has a certain perspective, and then there's also kind of like this philosophical or political thing where it's like maybe you want to understand this different viewpoint. But yeah, basically, I'm kind of in low code mode. Like I don't want to, long week, and hoping anybody else that's kind of feeling that maybe doesn't want to do anything too technical, but focused on basically writing really good prompts and doing some kind of like human stuff. And I'm hoping actually to have a good amount of people with like diverse perspectives. People want to kind of like try out like swapping perspectives and seeing how well like one person's perspective can be compressed by downloading it into an LLM, and then that LLM can prompt someone else and see if they can actually get someone to like upload that perspective. So that's the pitch.
I think there was a question.
I was gonna ask, are you planning on like how? I guess what I'm getting is how are you measuring these people so then you can like compare realities, so then you can have the LLM show the differentiation, so you can then have like an output to help you better understand that person. I guess I was trying to follow what you're saying, and
Yeah. So there's a couple ways. There's like a technical way with evaluations, but I think probably if we're trying to do like between you and me, right? Like let's say you have like something that I don't really know about. If like we can be in a separate room, and then the LLM kind of like does this like interrogation to download this perspective, and then upload it to me, and then that's where like the prompt has to be improved, and we find the right way to do that, such that then I think you're probably pretty good at telling when, and then I kind of explain yourself to you. I'm like speaking from your perspective. I think you're going to be probably pretty good at saying whether that's accurate or not. So it'll be probably subjective.
that's cool. Comparing realities and trying to find the middle ground so you can understand each other. It's interesting. I wonder how you could measure that out with that. Because the data is everything between the people.
I'm kind of hoping to just like
where you can start with
keep track of it, like if people are willing to help out, and just kind of like
that's cool.
Score it, right? Yeah,
that's neat.
Okay. Jaiv, you are up with online classroom bots for collaborative. On deck is Aditya.
Hello, I'm Jaiv. I'm a university student in Los Angeles, and in my high school, we had this form of learning called Harkness learning, where instead of the traditional view of what you think a classroom looks like, where there's tables facing a whiteboard or tables facing a teacher, our tables would be a conference room table, and then every student would be facing each other. And the professor or teacher would also be on that conference room table. And basically what that did was induce more of a collaborative environment to learning. We'd come into class every day with like this big picture idea of a topic and figure it out together. And that collaboration really helped. And even like if you think about a traditional classroom setting, if I don't have questions, I'm listening to other people that have questions and can drive the conversation forward. Maybe I'm thinking about those things latently. When we moved to Zoom school and then university, that all kind of sort of disappeared. And when I'm doing something at Khan Academy, I feel like I'm missing out on that collaboration or that like other thoughts and ideas type of setting. And it feels rather lonely to be doing Khan Academy on your own, for example. So my idea is to sort of leverage AI to recreate some sort of that like collaborative experience, and also like question answering by other student experience. Maybe thinking about it as like a Zoom classroom with a lot of other bots populated in it, and a human student like me, for example, learning a topic together where the bots are asking questions, and then when I feel confident, I can also ask questions, and then we learn basically a topic together. So generally speaking, there's a lot of probably sub-problems to that, but mostly focusing on the collaborative experience. Yeah.
Each one of those bots, do they have like a tiny element specific to whatever, or you just kind of plug in a prompt from each of them from the same, like an API call? Is each one gonna just have a prompt behind it to give it an individual personality, or how would you create the bots and then classroom to ask questions?
So on the API, you can have different conversation chains, right? So you're calling the API, but you have a different conversation chain for each bot, and then a system prompt with a persona, for example, and some like chain of thought level prompting in the middle. Like that's my initial approach, but I'm making this stuff up while I'm talking to you.
Cool, man. That's how you do it.
But yeah, I mean, if you have other ideas, please let me know.
Cool, brother.
Last but not least, Aditya, research field timeline generator and summary.
Yeah, so while I was coming here on the BART, I had this idea that one of the problems as researchers, especially like coming into a new like scientific field, is keeping up with the research. Like if papers grow exponentially and it's hard to keep track of who's publishing what, and as well as like just when you're sort of diving into a new area, where to begin. One thing that I thought we could explore was using basically the citation network of the published research and identifying sort of the key papers, people, and turning that into a narrative using like GPT or something to come up with basically a timeline of a particular scientific field that helps people understand more about it in terms of how it has evolved over time, rather than versus like just having them know of the concepts. But yeah, open to feedback on this, and I'm not very like set on it in terms of what I want to do yet.
Aditya?
Yeah.
You're who I met on LinkedIn. No, or is it another Aditya? He had a shaved face.
I have a shaved face on LinkedIn.
Cody, I think we've been talking. You invited me, yeah?
So I know that's a
I
different.
think it was another Aditya.
Yeah, maybe a different one. I don't know. How recent was that?
Right. I was just talking to him.
Okay, no, that's
Good to meet you in person.
but not that.
We've been talking for a
It's
while.
the AI body double.
Yeah, I was gonna say you look a little bit different. It's nice to your name's really. Thanks for inviting me.
So yeah, there's two Adityas in the channel.
Oh, is there? All right. That's why you sound look confused.
Yes. I think that's the core component.
Just checking.
Cool, awesome. Thank you all for your talks. Appreciate it.
I've got a tablet. I didn't know where to sign up at. If you got another second, I kind of wanted
Oh, okay. Yeah, if you want to jump out and give a quick feel free. So I was about to start this session.
I'll be real quick. I drove in from Las Vegas. I got two children that wanted to start talking to AI a while back. And I had a toy company come to me and they wanted to put it on a tablet that was offline. So for the past year and a half, we've been collecting chat data through kidschatgpt.com. The memory and all the functionality is very neat because it keeps kids on the site for 5 to 7 minutes. Every 3 days, we're generating about 30 to 60 lines of chat data between the online AI and the kids. So what we've done here is, it's very slow because the SOC is not very good, but we're hanging out with our friends, showing you off. This is all offline at a 2.2 gigabyte model. So we're all talking about data and stuff and all these ideas, and this takes a minute. It's like 3 seconds token. So yes, I'm here. What do we want to talk about? It's very short conversational for kids on an offline tablet. So because the way it works, it's only 2.2 gigabytes. And the inference is done through something called Llama C++. I've realized that you can take these models and you can put them on little robots for kids and conversations for kids, and everybody keeps talking about bots and this and that and agents and stuff. And my biggest question to everybody I want to leave them with is where's the data coming from, and is the data that's coming to you relevant? And what I mean by that is our conversation data that we collect online. We took a bunch of, there's 6 different bots when you go on the website. It's for children's health span. So the kids go to the website and talk about bullies at school and stuff, and it talks back to them and gives them, for instance, somebody says you're ugly. The bot will end up telling them, everybody has their own opinion and viewing on things. You need to understand that people look at things a certain way. So what I've done here is I've taken all the online data and we've created non-toxic conversation for children. So I'm at a point now where I'm going to start producing this and selling it on Amazon for $2.99. I can't do an app actually download from the App Store because of 100, 200 megabyte limit on the install. I don't want them to have to download the model separately for offline. So we run this on a Linux environment on the device. It starts up when the device starts. I don't know if you all heard turnups, but we use the open source software, then do inference on our tiny model. And it's very cool. If you tell it, you be a cat and I'm gonna be a dog, it says, don't you put me in that situation. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to create, and I have created, offline AI for kids to have conversations with that's not only emotionally responsive, but it talks to them like a child wants to talk to them. It's been a very cool project, and if anybody has questions about data and kids and stuff, it's like all I've been doing the past year and a half. So I'm Cody, it's nice to meet you guys. Well, if anybody has any questions.
I have a question because like you're going through the effort of putting this on hardware.
Here, and I've got books.
Oh.
Who's making kids products? I got a couple books that printed out. This is all off the first set of 30,000 kilobytes of data that we collected. And what we noticed with these kids is they don't have a safe place to speak. A lot of them are bullied, some of them molested. A lot of these kids have a lot of things that people don't want to necessarily talk about to their parents or other adults, so they come to my AI and talk to them about it. I have 4,200 words and phrases that stop pedophilia remarks, things about pee, pants. You'd be really surprised in this industry. And now we've got an AI that's producing data that doesn't have all of this stuff, so I don't have to sort through it. So your question specifically.
Yeah, I guess you're going through a lot of effort to put it on a hardware device and keep it offline. So what's your distribution strategy? Like, how do you want the actual kid to use it, or do you want this to be like international, like global?
Well, right now we have about 10,000 kids all over the world that use it every month. It's in multiple languages because we own a website called English as a Second Language GPT.com, and I own roleplaypokemon.com, along with the 6 bots. So everything's going into a data dump sheet, and that's what I'm using to train it with. And I have to use a larger online model to produce better, more complex responses. But the idea is, and back to the data, whatever you're going to train these models on is really going to be specific to the data that's being generated. So before you guys do anything, make sure the data that you're using is good and specific to the use case that you're using, because it's very easy to hit play and change some hyperparameters and train a model. But it comes down to the data that you're collecting. Does anyone know what last book? So my end model with this is there's 50 schools that use it in Colorado. Somebody's talking about how do you get it to the school system. You make it free, you put it on the internet, and you hope that somebody picks it up and brings it to the school board and it gets approved. That's what happened behind my back. The Colorado school system called me and told me. Nobody wants to pay for AI, so I've got a lot of teachers that use it. So if anybody's got product ideas, I can make a wall with all your product ideas and share it because we're a group here. But for the offline, I've created it to be a tablet that has all the Google applications and everything, but it has an embedded offline AI for emotional support for the children and something to conversate with. So distribution is Amazon and through the website.
Have you seen MoxieBot?
My kids got one and they didn't want to use it, which brings me why I made this. Barrier to entry with children when they want to use these products, for my own children, now making this, there can't be logins, there can't be apps they have to download. It has to be punch and talk. It has to be so simple. Parents, does anybody have kids? I'm sure that we're involved. Most parents don't care. And the kids are very to themselves and have to make decisions themselves. They don't have Apple logins, they don't have Google logins, they don't have anything. If you're gonna make stuff, you make it free, give it to them, and if it takes off, then figure out to monetize the other side outside that. But
yeah. So you're talking about the physical robot, right, with the facial expression that talks.
For that sort of stuff, that's more down the line because that can be done from the textual data. I can use the textual data and have it, yeah.
Because they have the same problems where the robot, the physical robot becomes a better parent than the parent.
That's what's happening. These kids are talking to you about things they won't talk to their parents about. And people are worried about kids getting lost into AI, but hell, that's against progress. So we're all here to make things better for these kids. And if the parents aren't going to make an effort, then it's essentially our job. And that's what I'm doing for my own kids. They love being able to chat this thing, talk to them about things that happen at school and stuff. And eventually, once the data sets become large enough, you can do style transfer to them. And you can make it talk like anybody, but still all the basic underlines of how the conversations are made in the first place. So you go to the website, it's called AIKidsTablet.com, and it shows all of the outputs and stuff. I just think it's important to talk about data.
Very cool. Thanks, guys.
Sure, thanks for letting me talk.
Okay, so it's about time to get to creating. A few details. So one, basically the space is 4 stories. Don't go upstairs. Those are private bedrooms. But everything that's downstairs, basically the floor below this and the floor below that, are all open hacking space. So do feel free to spread out, go there to get comfortable. We're basically going to do lunch here in about 30 minutes. I'll send an announcement off of the Slack when it's prepped. And we'll do dinner at 5:30. Demos are at 8, so you have more than 8 hours to put together your EdTech transforming creation. So good luck on that front. Any last practical questions before we get going? Okay. Oh, sorry.
Where can we access that cheating?
Oh yeah, I guess the question. So is everyone in the Slack channel? Raise your hand if you're. Raise your hand if you're not in the Slack channel. Actually, like you're not in Slack, you're not in Slack, you're not in Slack. Okay. Come to me after this talk. I'll make sure that everyone's there. This is where we'll be announcing food and events and comments. So if you want to contribute your idea here or ask people questions, feel free to. Aditya gave a talk about something which sounded to me like connected pages, so I sort of gave it to him. So yeah, make sure you get in the Slack. Any other questions?
Are you going to explain how team formation works?
It's informal. So basically, I should say, once you are prepped, once you know what your project is, just put your name in the project that you're working on here. You can do it now if you know what you're going to work on, but also feel free to talk amongst yourselves for the next 20 or 30 minutes and decide what you want to work on before. And when you guys are certain about what you want to do, put yourselves down, go find a nice spot to hang out and code things up for the next few hours.
Can we access the Wi-Fi? Or can we access
the Wi-Fi? Yeah. So if you're in Slack, you'll see the Wi-Fi, but it's AGI house, and the password is attention is all you need. Attention is all you need. Good. Oh, and also if you're in Particle, you should have gotten a text blast.
It's weird, you're under the tower here, but the reception can suck.
Oh, sorry.
Is that what that is? The cell phone tower?
I don't know. The cell tower, the cell reception. Too close.
It's fine.
Thanks for the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, sure. Cool. Any more pragmatic questions? Okay. So yeah, I guess do take this as a creative opportunity to think big, to create something incredible. Can't wait to see what you guys launch. Demos tonight. Let's do it.
That door always.
Sorry.
This is not a transformer.
I think just like a really helpful person because I think like it's surprising that you didn't mention that you were I didn't know that you you have to scroll down to make it where it's like so obvious. Yeah. All of it's fake. It's just your name is it's like really control your friends. Yeah, the part was normally you pay $1. Yeah, my trick got it's like instead of wick, K.
Nice to meet you. My wife's Hungarian. And then
Yeah.
from Russia.
Oh, okay. So you want it to be more.
I don't know yet. Like walking around, meeting people.
Yeah. That sounds really great. Yeah, and you're right. It's very line. Like the goal is like they're working with it, and like they don't know how to say anything. That's fine. Where are they from? Is it the pronunciation? Really, exactly.